Nelson as Michael Rossi, Ryan O'Neal as Rodney Harrington, Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson, Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson, Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington, Patricia Morrow as Rita Harrington, James Douglas as Stephen Cord.
Adrienne Van Leyden was brought to Peyton Place by Martin Peyton. The reason? To break up Stephen Cord's marriage to Betty. The plan is working. But now Adrienne's own feelings are beginning to get in the way of Peyton's desire to destroy Stephen. Feelings that make her restless and resentful. But she has no choice but to do Martin Peyton's bidding.
And for the best Eddie special, you top it off with a splash of bubbly. That's what the British call soda water.
Sounds great. You want one?
Yeah, why not? But I'll be watching you like a hawk.
Anywhere you like, ma'am, I'll be right with you.
Thank you.
Did I do it right?
Yeah, sure, exactly right.
What can I get for you?
Oh, Tom Collins.
Tom Collins.
Excuse me, Mrs. Van Leyden.
I'm sorry, I don't know you.
But I know you. From New York.
No. No, I said I don't know you, so please, dear
It
good
was
fellow,
about 5 years ago. You were living in one of those apartment hotels facing Central Park. The name of it slips my mind at the moment. But it was you. I knew it the minute I saw your picture in the paper.
Oh, they told me there was one in every small town, and now I believe it. You're the town character, aren't you?
The name is Jacks. Eddie Jacks.
Oh, well, that's a little disappointing. I would hope it would be Silas Waterbury or something like that, but all right, it's your name. Please, sit down.
Tom Collins?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, tell me all about me.
You're a smart girl.
You know, it used to be that you'd see types like you sitting in front of the general store watching the cars go by. But I guess with the advent of television, you've all gone inside.
I was working for a detective agency in New York.
Oh, now the story's getting interesting. But, Mr. Jacks, what was a nice man like you doing in a job like that?
One day, I was assigned to tail a certain prominent gentleman whose wife suspected that she had grounds for divorce.
Divorce? Oh, divorce, Mr. Jacks, is the ruination of more marriages than almost anything else. At least so I understand.
Uh-huh.
This isn't going to be a sad story, is it? Because I don't think I could bear a sad story on such a nice, bright, sunny day.
I followed him and followed him. And he kept turning up at this young woman's apartment. Very high-priced apartment.
You know, I thought I was going to hear an original New England folktale. But I get the feeling that the story you're telling me is familiar.
I knew you'd remember.
Remember? Oh, yes, Mr. Jacks. I bet I've heard that story 100 times. Say, you don't know anything about, mending a wall or witch hunts or axe murders, do you? Now, that's what I'm really interested in. Not all this scary big city stuff.
It was you. Admit it. I never forget a face. Especially one like yours.
Well, what happens next? Oh, I know. You have run out of gasoline for your fishing boat, and you want me to buy the spinning wheel that belonged to your great-great-grandmother.
You were seen and photographed with a guy all over town. And when he was finally forced to be a good boy, you latched onto a VIP big spender. Without even missing a meal.
You know what is really disappointing about this whole thing to me? I can't believe that anybody would take me for a summer tourist. Now, Mr. Whatever your name is, I'd like to thank you for a most amusing folktale. Please accept this with my appreciation. You certainly have some charming local characters.
Something the matter? Was he bothering you there?
What are you up to? Just making conversation, that's all. Leslie! I gotta talk.
What is it?
Something of interest about the gal at Peyton's in an hour.
I'm fascinated.
Yeah, I think you are. Let's talk in the bar. There's no time.
What about her?
She was a top drawer party gal in New York. I recognized her from a picture in the Boston paper. And then she walked right into the bar. When I was working in a detective agency, I observed her a lot of times. She was hired to entertain lots of visiting brass.
What does that mean?
I mean, she was on the town, don't you understand?
Yes, I understand. Was she married at the time?
No.
Was she ever arrested?
No, but
Is what she was doing against the law?
yes.
Can you prove it?
Yes,
You're positive?
sure. Her name wasn't Adrienne Van Lyden, but she's the same gal.
And you saw her at the bar?
Yeah, I went up to her and told her where I remembered her from. She pretended like she didn't know what I was talking about.
You confronted her with it?
Okay, so I'm not as tactful as you.
Go tell Martin Peyton what you know. Maybe he'd be interested in helping you get started in some business somewhere.
You never let a guy down, do you? You always think the worst of somebody.
All right, Eddie, what do you want? Why are you telling me?
Friends.
Since when?
Okay. Let's put it another way. I want us to be friends.
The information you've given me is worthless.
To a guy like me, maybe. But not to a man like you. Especially when it comes to dealing with a man like Peyton.
What do you want?
Your son is married to my daughter. There's no reason why we can't work together, be partners.
Specifically, what are you talking about?
Well, you haven't stayed around this town because you love it, or it loves you.
My life is here, my sons are here.
The money's here. Peyton's money.
You've got no chance, Eddie. No chance. You're over your head.
Maybe. But with you,
I said you've got no chance.
even if you don't know it, I do. You need a partner, Les. And if you use this information, you've got yourself a partner. Now, let's face it. You're the guy who never wants to get his hands dirty and is willing to pay to keep them clean. Oh, I never cared how dirty my hands got, as long as the price was right.
Oh, Norm, I hate this being sick. If I looked at me, I should think I'm going to die.
Don't say that.
I mean it. It's true. That's the way they look at me.
Do I detect some self-pity?
Everybody's entitled to a touch of self-pity now and then.
There's no reason for it. If there's any self-pity dealt out in this house, I do the deal.
Nice to have you around.
Thanks.
Big Daddy.
That's me, baby.
Mom, it was so strange seeing him for the first time.
Matthew? Oh, your father.
I didn't know what to say to him.
Well, exactly what you said. Get lost.
He is still my father.
Well, that's nothing to brag about. I mean, any more than I brag about my father.
What harm would there be in me seeing him once more?
Forget it.
Oh, I do owe him something.
For what? For walking out on you and your mom when you were a month and a half old?
That's Mom's side of the story.
And what do you want to do? Hear his side? You know it'll be a bunch of lies.
I'm just asking to see him once more.
And what are you going to do when he gets his foot in the door? How are you going to shove it out?
Well, when I saw him on the wharf, and we talked for those few minutes, I could see how much it meant to him, and I was so rude.
He had it coming.
But he's my father, and I don't want him to remember me that way.
Quit looking for reasons to see. Because you're not going to. Understand?
Blue pills, red pills, no one tells me what they're for. When I had new medicine, I like to know what's in it.
No, Dr. Fielding told me the whole story in full detail.
Did he tell you he'd withdrawn from my case?
He did so with a certain amount of relief in his voice.
I'm sorry to bring it down here on a Sunday, Doctor, but I'm relieved to be back under your care.
Well, it's just temporarily, Mr. Peyton, until you can find yourself another doctor.
It's ridiculous for us to go on sparring like this. Why are you so on edge about Adrienne? What can I tell you to convince you that she's not a monster?
I know. She's just a poor, defenseless widow that has the uncanny talent of being able to land on her feet.
Do you refer to our engagement? I admit if Adrienne had been 10 years younger, I might have made her my ward instead. In a practical sense, it amounts to the same thing.
Mr. Peyton, I believe that your fiancée took an ugly part in the death of her husband.
Pure speculation.
And I'm going to see that she answers for it.
On what basis? That your hero married beneath him? Idle chatter from envious colleagues.
Misappropriation of funds is not idle gossip.
Rumor, vague suspicions.
And why didn't that concern you? You were the sole source of Dr. Van Leyden's funds.
Well, the money's gone, hasn't it? So is Paul Van Leyden. I prefer him to be remembered for his accomplishments.
But he isn't, is he? People have forgotten him as the scientist. They remember him now as the elderly social butterfly dancing around in front of a spoiled young wife.
Listen, the only charge you have against Adrienne is that her husband loved her.
And foolishly.
What do you say?
Perhaps he loved her well enough to protect her from the consequences of her own actions. And then he couldn't live with it.
This is pure slander.
Is it? Whatever your faults, Mr. Peyton, I've always considered you a shrewd judge of character. Now I'm beginning to wonder.
Listen, I won't allow you to persecute my fiancée.
There are limits even to your protection.
We'll see about that.